Welcome back, everyone, to a brand new live stream. Hope you're all having a good day today. The markets have turned green today, and that is because of what Donald Trump has said. He has come out and paused tariffs for 90 days. So there was rumors a few days ago regarding this pause in tariffs. Then it came out that it was fake news. And then Donald Trump earlier today posted, I think 3 hours before this pump, that it's a great time to buy. And then now he's released these news to basically pause tariffs on all other countries because they've called them up. They've talked about negotiations apart from China. China is the only country that has not done that. So starting, I think it's on tomorrow or immediately, the tariffs for China is going to be 125%. China has increased their tariffs to 84%. So we are seeing a trade war between China and America. EU's there somewhere in the background, but they're not doing anything sufficient. They have put tariffs on America about 25%, but they're not anything crazy, so this has caused the pump. 90-day pause. We could get some very good rallies in the next 90 days. The CME gap for rate cuts in May, this was around 50 to 60% when we dumped last night to about 74 again. I think it was 74. I think you put in a new low actually, and then we bounced, obviously. I think those were the insiders buying again before this pump today. We know that happens all the time. At the moment, is 80% chance that there is no rate cuts happening in May, and that's because the market's rallied. If you look at the S&P, the S&P is up 8% in one day. Bitcoin is up 8%. Ethereum is up 13%. And a lot of our altcoins, Sensei is up 25% today, or is up 8%. Nothing crazy. Well, 8% today. A lot of the coins are pumping, which is a very good sign. This is the concept of DCA. If you DCA'd the last couple of weeks, you will be rewarded with today's pump. If you've been DCAing for the last couple of months, you will be rewarded in the next couple of weeks, even the next couple of months when the market decides to pump, if everything comes in accordingly. Ondo has had a great pump, approximately 25% from the lows of last night, which is crazy pump. I actually managed to catch this around 70, and I probably will sell in the next couple of hours, just because, I'm only looking for short-term moves on these high caps. But Silver, good to see you, buddy. Merkel, good to see you. Jobin, very good to see you. Julian, Ryzen, Merdad, good to see you. BNB King, good to see you. Can you please shed some light on the best short-term trades opportunities available these days? Yeah, so, the most accurate, the safest trade opportunities, in my opinion, are always going to be Ondo and Su. And the reason is because you look for coins that are strong against his BTC pair. Ondo has held up reasonably well against his BTC pair. Sui has held up really well against his BTC pair. And oftentimes, they tend to recover whenever the market switches bullish. So when the market goes in deep red, when we see drops like 5-10% in Bitcoin, aggressively, the smartest thing you can do is to buy Ondo, DCA Ondo. And the reason is because, yes, in the short term, you might buy $1,000 here and it goes down here. But guess what happens? In a few days to a week, you get massive green candles like this. It's happened over here. It's happened over here. It's happened over here, all the way back up here. It's always a good mover. This is, it's a high cap, but it moves like a low cap. This has moved 25% the last hour. That's a very good pump. That's literally a low cap. That's what some low caps have moved. The Nasdaq has pumped 12%, massive pump from the Nasdaq, and this just shows, what the whole market is worried about is the tariffs. As soon as the tariffs are negotiated, this is what I said to most people. I said that these tariffs are negotiations. They're not. Trump is not stupid to fucking cause a recession. He knows that tariffs will cause a recession, because what tariffs do is a massive tax hike for businesses and for the average person. And when these tariffs get higher and higher, if a company was paying, for example, if a company is extorting from China or exporting from China, they pay 10-20% tariffs. If that goes to 100%, that person, if they were paying 20K, now they have to pay 400K now. That's what happens with these tariffs. The prices go up aggressively. And it's, small companies, what happens to them is they have to close down because they can't afford to pay that. And what tends to happen is if you put more pressure on these companies, Apple, Microsoft, whatever, the big companies, they will just start laying off people. And when layoffs go up, because people are finding it hard to find jobs, layoffs go higher. You get higher unemployment, and it will move aggressively. And when unemployment starts moving up aggressively, you get recession scares, and then the market will go into like a free fall. The VIX just came down 30%. 30%. I said 60% is a good time to buy. Above 30 is always a good percent, a good time to buy. That's what I've been doing. I've been DCAing. This is the concept of DCA. A lot of people like to time the market. Those people oftentimes disappear when the market turns bullish. The people that try to time the market, try to time the bottom, 9 times out of 10, they don't show up because the timing the bottom is almost impossible. Jamie, good to see you as well, buddy. We have 90-day green 30XO holdings. I hope so. That would be amazing. Cool guy, good to see you. Tristan, good to see you. T-Rex, good to see you. Good to see everyone in the chat. Sellers in disbelief. A lot of people was calling for a Black Swan event, and I don't blame them. And the reason I don't blame them is because if you look at how Bitcoin was moving, and you look at how the market was moving, the tariffs was going to cause some sort of Black Swan event. And there was 2 scenarios I would say that could have caused the Black Swan event. One of them was, when the 10-year bond goes up, while stocks are going down, it means a bunch of people are selling their bonds, which is not a good sign. Most people will be locking in the yield and buying the bonds. Instead, people were selling it, and people were, referring to China selling their bond market. The 10-year bond, they are the second biggest holder of the bond market. And when that happens, when these guys start selling the bonds, you could get, some sort of Black Swan event, especially if they start selling aggressively. You get a Black Swan event, which, could have caused Bitcoin to come down to the low 50s, even the low, the low 50s to 60s. I would say that would have been a Black Swan event. The stock market would have came down another 10 to 15% as well, and the Fed would have stepped in. I think, they would have 9 times out of 10 they would have stepped in. But what we're seeing now, we're seeing these aggressive moves from the bond market. But I do think this will roll over in a couple of weeks. I don't really see the bonds, staying this high. It gave this fake. If you draw the line here, it gives this fake breakout. But I do think it will roll over, and I think more rate cuts will get priced in. In June, we are 59% now. This is going to move around. 59% chance that we will get a rate cut in June. And I think the chances of this will go up in a few days when we get inflation numbers tomorrow, actually, not even a few days. Inflation numbers come in tomorrow. So we are going to see inflation numbers come in, and it's forecasted to come in. Previous was 2.8. It's forecasted to either come in 2.6 or 2.5. And this goes exactly what Trueflation has been saying for the past couple of months. This is very accurate chart. Trueflation is a very accurate chart. Let me just go on. Let me see if I can find it actually, just to show you guys what I'm talking about. If you can find the chart of the actual inflation, where is it? Let me see if I can find the chart. It's on here somewhere. Maybe the website would have been good, but yeah. So is it here? So this is where we're at now. This is exactly where we're at now this month. So in the next month, it should come down again. Then we could see another spike the following month, and then we get a massive drop sometime in the next couple of months, maybe in June, July. And this massive drop in inflation could give the Fed the chance to actually stop QT. So my guess is sometime in June and July, the Fed is likely to stop QT because we're going to get this massive crash in inflation. This could be fueled by higher unemployment, which also means that the Fed will have to step in at some point and start easing, and we can go into a little, mini bull run. If they start easing, we'll go into a very big bull run. However, The current status is we are going deflationary rather than inflationary. A lot of people keep calling, our tariffs are going to cause higher inflation. It doesn't work like that. Tariffs are tax hikes that put pressure on these companies. And when you have pressure on these companies, more layoffs happen. And when more layoffs happen, inflation goes down because less people are consuming, but the chances of a recession goes a lot higher. So this is why I say the Fed is being very, very restrictive. And I'm very happy that Trump actually paused the tariffs, because otherwise he would have raped the markets in the next couple of months. He would have actually caused a recession. Recession fears would have went a lot higher. When you start hearing the big banks, the fucking Larry things start talking about recessions, that's just fear mongering for them to buy your bags off you. This is why we pumped so aggressively today. Do you guys not notice that the last couple of days, all these big banks are fear mongering that we're already in a recession, we're going into a recession, and then today we've pumped aggressively. There's just fear mongering. These guys will buy your bags off you and then sell it when you FOMO back in. So today, a lot of the big whales or the smart people was buying the last couple of days, and then now they probably will be selling into the retail FOMOing in, because a lot of people are sidelined. Look at the USDT dominance. It was almost at this fucking trend line. It actually got rejected damn near off this trend line. It got rejected off the long-term trend line twice almost, came back down now. This is all the people that's sidelined sitting in USDT, 5.5%. This is USDT only. If we show off USDC as well, it'll probably be a lot higher. Dominance also came back down, but it's only a tiny amount. Nothing to be, to actually take seriously in the short term. Bears shit in their pants indeed. I mean, if you guys want to buy stuff that has not pumped yet, Bricken is a good choice. Bricken has not pumped fuck all today. This is actually down 0.6%. If you go on the 7-day chart, it's at this little tiny wick. But this is a good one to DCA now, just because it hasn't really pumped. ATR as well hasn't really pumped too much. It's up 6% today. If we do get a nice rally, ATR is always one that tends to move very aggressively. When we rallied back in December, let me go back over. When we rallied back in December, this actually pumped like 6 to 7x. He actually wicked up to like 0.68 on Mexi. A very good coin that moves aggressively when the market gets bullish. It has held up reasonably well as well. This basically is at my buying price right now. So, I've been DCing this aggressively. Chart looks like two massive pump and dumps. But this is a good coin that moves. NAI is still at good range as well. Is below, well below actually when I got into this. $6 million in market cap, continuous development. This is one to actually DCA into as well. The rest of them has pumped too much, or is still at decent range as well. Didn't really pump too much today. 5%, which is pretty decent, I would say. For we had one massive green candle. But there's a few coins that are worth DCAs. The ones that have pumped aggressively, 20 to 30%, don't FOMO into them. You only DCA the ones that are still, not moved off their lows too much. Andreas, good to see you, buddy. I swear there is bullish hair under that hat. My hair is very bullish underneath. It's not actually. My hair is bearish underneath. However, I am getting a haircut tomorrow. So the hair will be back bullish. No more waiting for dumps, right? I mean, I wouldn't say it's completely off the table. Yes, we are going to have. If you look at it the chart wise, we need to break this trend, which is above 80. Well, let's say about, if we can hold above 85K, depending on how you draw this, we will most likely go up higher. This could have been the lows because this is a double bottom. This is a classic double bottom. I was waiting for Bitcoin to tap into this region because a lot of liquidity is sitting in this current region. Some sitting as low as 67K, but these get shifted every day. If the tariffs continued, the liquidity would have been grabbed down here. However, as the market moves higher, the liquidity will also move up with it. And the reason is because people are not just going to sit at 57K or 65K if the market's at 90K without any bearish news coming up. It doesn't make sense. Smart money have positioned themselves. They bought as 78, between 78 to 70K. They've already been buying. And now we've had this nice rally because of the tariffs. I mean, Trump is unpredictable. He could come out tomorrow and say, "No, we're going to start putting more tariffs on people." But it seems the only country that he's going after in the short term is China. That's it. And China will not bend the knee. They have said they will not bend the knee. And this is just a big ego clash between China and America. China is not the same China that it was in 2017, 2018 when he was first took office. It's not the same China. China has advanced, is the manufacturer of the world. They're not in the same position as there was before. The reason China struggled for over 100 years is because they chose silver over gold. They went a majority into silver, but the whole world chose gold. Gold rallied, silver lacked. That lost them 40% of the purchasing power. So China was in a rough state. Now they've actually picked up gold. Gold is doing well. They've become the manufacturer of the world. And China is not the same China as it was, a decade ago. It's a lot stronger now. They are more deflationary than they are inflationary. China is their currency is devalued massively, so that is one red flag for them. So they do need to inject. The problem is with these companies, they have to inject more and more liquidity. They don't have no choice. Otherwise, it's just a massive collapse. So, but they don't normally do, the crazy QE until the Fed does it. That gives them the green light. So if the Fed decides to stop QT tomorrow, you're going to see a lot more countries starting QE, starting to inject large amounts of liquidity. But they won't do it until the Fed does it. You think we'll go back to 7-7 region? I mean, we were just there for the past week, bro. Like, this is what. How many times do I say this to people? And I always say this. I guarantee you, when the market pumps, there will always be someone that will ask, "Is it too late to buy?" You shouldn't be buying. You buy when it's in extreme fear. You don't buy now. Just wait. If you got cash on the side, just sit it out. It doesn't matter. At some point, we will dump again. These altcoins, they're not going to move aggressively when dominance is at 63%. It's very, very high. Dominance is high. If it goes back down to 60 below 63, then it makes sense to buy because it's going to be on that downtrend. However, at the moment, if you miss this pump, do not FOMO in. There's no reason for you to FOMO in. We still have other events that's coming up that could crash the markets one more time and give you guys another buying opportunity. But do not FOMO in when everything is green. This is what retail does, and they get raped for a reason. This is why retail is retail. They don't buy when everything's red because they get panicked and they get scared and they think it's going to go lower because they go on Twitter and they see some retard saying we're going to 60K. They start believing it because the sentiment is bad. And then when the market rallies, they want to FOMO back in because they don't want to miss the boat. You have to do the opposite of what your mind tells you. If you're scared to buy, that is when you buy, because everyone in this chat, including myself, even though I have a less retail mentality, you're all retail. You get scared when everything goes to shits because you think it's going to go lower. And then when it goes back up, you have the intention to FOMO back in, but you should have the opposite of that mentality. You buy when everyone's shit in the bed because you're always going to get relief rallies. Nothing just goes down in a straight line. Look how many times market comes down, you get a relief rally. Market comes down, you get a relief rally. Market comes down, you get a relief rally. Comes down again, and you get a bigger relief rally. You will always get relief rallies because the market just doesn't work in one direction. There has to be some hopium for retail to FOMO back in, and these are the hopiums, these green candles. So no, you shouldn't FOMO in, my friend. Just wait. If you have to wait a bit longer, it's fine. Keep in mind that Powell is speaking right now as I'm live streaming. So I don't know what he's going to say. I will listen to his. If Powell, I don't think Powell will be bearish. I think he will have a more neutral stance where he's just going to be waffling and saying a whole bunch of nothing, because he doesn't like to give the market anything, any little news, any little hopium, because the market will react aggressively off that news. So he doesn't like doing that. The most he will do is he'll just say a whole bunch of nothing. This is what Powell is good for. He will say a whole bunch of nothing. So I do think I think he'll be neutral, but I don't think he'll be dovish. I don't think he'll be hawkish, because the market has been tanking aggressively. I don't think he wants to cause another tank because he has the power to do so. BOJ interest rates, of course, BOJ still matters. Yes, BOJ. If the higher we go, the more BOJ will matter, and the reason is because the guy, and he was speaking a few days ago. I need to listen to what he was saying, but a lot of it will depend on the Japanese inflation numbers that's coming out in approximately 5 to 6 days. That is going to be the decider on what the Bank of Japan will do, because if the inflationary numbers go higher, it's very likely that they will raise rates at the end of the year, at the end of the month, sorry, and you will get very, very good buying opportunities. Very good buying opportunities. A lot of people, a lot of YouTubers included, they when everything gets bearish, they start bear posting for engagement. And when everything gets bullish, just start bull posting. You gotta be very careful. Hold on, let me check. Inflation, there you go. So on the 18th of February, Friday. What the fuck am I doing? Anyways, Friday, April 2025, you are going to see the inflation numbers come in. So the forecast is 4.3%. That's actually crazy. If the inflation number shoots up, it's very likely they will raise rates. Core inflation is forecasted to be 2.5. I don't know what the previous was, but the inflation numbers are forecasted to go higher. We obviously want it to come in lower. Let's just see how it plays out, because if this comes in higher, you still have time before the rate hike is actually done, so you can take profits, get into cash, and get ready to buy when they actually raise rates. So you have approximately 12 days before the decision is made, because the decision is made on the 30th, and obviously you have the inflation numbers come out on the 18th. So you don't need to panic about it at the moment. As we get closer to the time, or when we actually see the time, I will make another live stream and tell you guys what's most likely going to happen. Top 5 coins for RWA and AI: Sensei, prop base. Yeah, so Aut, Sensei, Nai for AI. If you want to get those ones, those are my 3 favorite AI projects. For Deepin, I'd get AI Tech, because there's not a lot of Deepin projects, but Deepin has been so dead lately for the past couple of years or year and a half that you would rather not get into Deepin, but just because of how dead it is. Just look at how Render's performing. Render is a good indicator of the Deepin narrative. For RWA, you want to get prop base, you want to get ATR, you want to get Bricken, and you want to get Realio. And for high cap, you want to get Ondo. Ondo is my favorite high cap in terms of for RWA. It's the one that I always trade with, and it's always a quick mover. Despite how the market condition is, Ondo will always give you a nice return in short-term rallies. However, it's also a very good long-term investment as well. It's the best of both worlds. If let's say you take a trade on Ondo and it doesn't work out, you're in a loss and you end up holding your bags, it doesn't matter, because Ondo will, in my opinion, will be around for multiple cycles. They have that link to BlackRock. RWA will only get bigger as time goes on. So the thing is, even if you take a trade and it doesn't work out, and I always take spot trades. I don't take leverage. The most I'll ever leverage is about 2 to 3x max. I will not go below that, just because of how uncertain the market is. So you can take little leverages, 2, 3x, whatever. You'll pump 20%, you'll make some decent money. I like to do spot because it's a lot easier, less stress, But 2, 3x is very unlikely to get liquidated anyways. Crypto, my friend, very good to see you. Ross, good to see you as well, buddy. Is there any way we can contact one-on-one? We will have an altcoin season, in your opinion. I mean, you can join my Patreon thing. I do have some slots available, just because I am kicking a bunch of people out. So if you go to the Ko-fi thing, there is a one-to-one shit there, but I don't want too many people to join right now. If you want that one-to-one slot, you can join it. It's in the description, my friend. But yeah, I do think we will have an alt season this year. The way that it normally works is, the more pain you get in the market, the chances of of the Fed actually easing will go higher, because hold on, let me go on my Twitter. I'll show you. The market, or the Fed will do stealth QE, but you just won't know about it because they won't announce it. Just a few days ago, they've been stealth QEing from the repo, hundreds of billions, but you just don't know about it because they don't announce it. They always do stealth QE to stimulate and add liquidity to the markets. The Fed knows that there is liquidity issues in the market. In the last FOMC meeting, he did mention that there is liquidity issues in the market. And, when that happens, they will do stealth QE, but they won't announce it. Most people are unaware of it, but it happens without most people knowing. So, there was a tweet, but I'm not going to end up looking for it, but just take my word for it. Rio is good, yeah. I mean, look, the reason Rio is so volatile, so you will see aggressive swings in both directions from Rio. It's not because it's a shit token, is quite the opposite. Rio moves aggressively because only 10% of the supply is actually circulating, while 90% is staked. So if 90% is staked and only 10% is available, you're going to get massive swings in the price action. So this is why when everything goes to shits, you see Rio go to shits very quickly. And then when everything starts pumping, it will do a 2x, 80%, 50% pump in a very aggressive manner. And that's only because there's 10% in circulation at the current moment. When the district comes out, for every land or every building or whatever bullshit they're doing gets bought or introduced, or I think when people buy the land or something, I think a certain percentage of that will be burnt in the Rio token. So you're going to see even more scarcity in the Rio token, which means you're going to get a lot more volatility to the upside and the downside. You have to keep that in mind. Rio is not dumping aggressively because it's a shit token. It's just that it's controlled by retail. And when price goes down and everyone starts panicking, Rio will go down because there's not a lot circulating. And, vice versa. They'll FOMO back in and it will move back up aggressively. That's all it is to Rio. But Rio is, you have like pump funds versions of everything. You have the pump fund version of Solana, which is pump fund itself. You have the pump fund version of AI agents, which is virtuals. We can launch you on, and there's 100 other ones. The pump fund version of RWA will be Rio token, Rio itself. And the reason is because when you look at what Rio is trying to build, is basically trying to build a platform where anyone and everyone can tokenize anything they want without any cost. So this is what Rio is trying to build. They're trying to build like a pump fund version of, to give the power back to the community or the people by building a decentralized pump fund version of tokenization where anyone can tokenize anything they want free of cost. This is what they're building. And I think if they build it and they complete the wallet by the next couple of months, when the market gets bullish and that actually gets introduced, you're going to see a lot more on-chain activity. You're going to see a lot more people tokenizing stuff on the platform, and the price will surge aggressively just because of the how much is actually in circulation for Rio, which is only 10% of the supply. So that's why I always remain bullish on Rio. You're always going to see FUD on Rio. For example, people be like, "Oh, what's the point of buying land in a metaverse?" The whole point is you earn money because you earn by VIH staking. At the same time, the price surges because it's just like you're helping your own bags. The people that buy the land, you're burning a certain amount of Rio tokens, and the price surges. It's not, people don't buy it because they want to buy fucking land in metaverse. It's retarded. The concept is retarded, but it helps the token itself. So it's just like it's a cult community. Rio is another cult community. If you go on Twitter, it's always going to be amongst the top 10 most mentioned coin on Twitter every single day. So that's a very good thing. When retail come back in, when RWA starts doing aggressive pumps, Rio will be amongst the top. It's always been amongst the top. When I first got into Rio, it was down here. It gave me hundreds of X's. I bought back at 10 cents. It ripped down to 10 cents because there was FUD against it, down here. And then it moved another 30x. Now it's at the same price again, mainly because of FUD. And it will move again aggressively just because most of the supply is staked. There's not a lot of supply available. Are you not bearish with the odds for the next 6 months? Yeah, look, I don't think we're in a bear market, my friend. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, we're going into a bear market, blah, 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 blah." The reality is we haven't even seen a bull run yet. not a proper bull run. If this was the top, this would have been the shortest bull run ever, because we are still 200 days off the top of the bull run. So it would have been like a very, very early left translated cycle. That's not my base case. Bitcoin, despite all these, we've had one of the biggest capitulation events since the great crashes. The VIX stayed above 50 for, 60 almost for multiple days. The COVID crash was fucking 60. No, that was so was like 100 or something. But we're like, these are like the times when the market crashed very, very aggressively. It was 81, sorry. The COVID crash was 82. We've gone to 60. This is, when the VIX normally goes above 50, what you see in the S&P for the coming months or years or, a couple of years, you get a very, very strong price action, which means it's going to go higher. So this could have been our black swan event for us to buy. And then we're just going to go higher in a couple of years. Because the reality is, Trump had to do what he had to do to bring the deficit down. I've explained this on multiple live streams. The deficit is very important, 2 trillion yearly deficit that needs to be reduced in order to pay off the debt. If that deficit continues to go higher, as government spending goes up, then, what's going to happen is the debt is just going to keep going higher and higher. And then in the end result is you'll just get a massive global recession. It will just collapse the entire world because it's not sustainable. No amount of printing will be able to save you once the debt ceiling gets too high. It's already high. If it gets, really, really high, no amount of printing, no amount of rate cuts will save you. It will take decades to actually fix the problem. People want to avoid, Trump wants to avoid it. What he's doing, I don't blame him. But, his reasoning is a bit retarded because he says that tariffs are going to bring more jobs back into the economy. It is to some degree because you're seeing hundreds of billions of investments from certain countries, Saudis, big massive companies are investing back into the country. They're going to be building, creating jobs. But the reality is when you're putting these high tariffs on these big companies, the layoff is going to go higher. We're going to go back into deflationary, and a deflationary crash is never good for the markets. However, it is good for QE. So it could work out both ways, to be honest. But I do think in the couple of months ahead, I do think we're going to get some very good relief rallies, and it will give us enough time to build some cash positions for the next fucking major event, and you can buy the dip again. That's what I think will happen. Next stream will be bullish here. Crypto. Feels good to have some green. Yeah, look, I look at these green days as motivation to actually DCA when the market goes dead. Because a lot of people, like I said, get scared when the market's dead and they want to FOMO in when it's green again. But use these green days to understand you're always going to get bounces in price action. So when these bounces happen, you can take trades, you can do whatever, make some money on the side, pay yourselves. Don't just fucking, if you're taking trade on something and it's up 25% in one day, you have to pay yourself, take some money off the table. Never go broke taking some profits. Finally got a bit of cash for DCA and bought some Rio last night, ready for the next dip. Yeah, that's smart. That's smart. Izzy, good to see you as well, bro. Yeah, Mirko is here as well. Short-term strategy, boss. Short-term strategy is, I do think as long as inflation numbers come in lower, I think a possible rate cut in May is still possible. However, at the moment, it is not looking the very likely chance. It could happen, but like I said, the Fed is so cautious because they don't want to repeat the 80s again. The previous Fed, back in those times, what he done was inflation came down, right? And they started QE, they started cutting rates aggressively. And then we got stagflation, which took decades and 2 to 3 recessions to come out of it. And Powell has said for multiple years now, he wants to avoid that scenario because it is just not good for anyone. Imagine a decade of just the market not going anywhere. You pump 10, 15% here, and then you just dump back down because a recession gets announced or inflation is going too high. None of us want that. So that's what Powell is being, scared or is being cautious. I think is with good reason, because if we get a case of stagflation, a lot of you guys are not going to make no money for 10 years. You're going to have to go back to finding a job. So the market's not going to make you no money. So it's kind of pointless for them to do that. And I think the Fed being cautious is understandable. I know all of us want money in the short term. We want an alt season next week, so we want the Fed to start QE. Yes, you'll get an alt season, but are you going to be able to sell at the right time and not get trapped? And then you're going to spend the next 10 years not making no money from the market. So that's why the Fed is being cautious, and I don't really blame them. However, the June a rate cut is more or less guaranteed, in my opinion. It's more or less guaranteed. The Fed has been over restrictive. We are going to go deflationary eventually if the Fed does not fucking stop or start cutting rates. And this is what we're seeing. Is that 1.2%, 1.3%? That's almost going deflation. That's well below their targets. So, I think the Fed is just waiting to see how these tariffs are going to inflect inflation, which they don't. I think they're more deflationary than inflationary. So let's see what happens. I need to listen to Powell and see what he's saying, but most of the time it's just a waste of time because it just waffles and says a whole bunch of nothing. Looking at price action, I don't think the market is liking what he's saying. Yes, boys, hit the likes. 105 of you in here. It does not cost anything for you guys just to hit the simple like button. It helps me out a lot. My channel has been fucking stagnant for the past month now, and it's mainly because I have not been uploading much, but it's also because the engagement has gone down. So I need you guys to start fucking smashing the like button. Get to 100 likes. The more likes it get, the more it gets recommended to random people. Skid, I kicked him out. Kicked him out, Russ. Kicked him out. You allow me, Russ. Anyways, Sensei is doing very well. Yes, it's doing very well. Oh, I just took a little dump today. Anyways, I need to listen to Powell because the market is not reacting well, and I think Powell is probably being a retard again. Basically, we get 90 days before Trump says something retarded and nuke the market. You could say that, but I would never trust Trump because he would just come out with something retarded the next day. So I wouldn't really put it past him to send the markets now, and then just for him to fucking say something retarded again and crash the markets in a couple of weeks. But it's just going to be him. It's going to be back and forth between them and China. That's it. Just seen AI Tech AMA with Daily Center should be going live in May finally. I like CEO pretty cocky, but sure as a leader. Yeah, he is quite cocky. But as long as the data center is live, you are going to see some positive price action for AI Tech. The price action has been fucking terrible. So the people that's calling AI Tech a scam, I don't blame them. Price action is terrible. But as a project that's developing, they are still developing. They're doing very well. On that same AMA, they did say that they have secured a Binance listing, but it's only about timing. I mean, look how many projects has listed on Binance recently. Most of them just get rug pulled, go down 80% in a couple of months. And that's because the insiders in Binance want to mute. They tend to rate these coins. So because the market's bearish, they'll just say, oh, it's not us, it's the markets. However, if the market's bullish, they don't have a choice but to send it because the market's bullish. If they list on Binance and it goes down, everyone's going to call them out for the manipulation. When the market's bearish and they send it down, they just blame the markets and say, yes, it's going down because of the markets. That's what happens. So it's all about timing. Exchanges things matters a lot, specifically about timing. Agri, good to see you, my friend. Declan, good to see you as well, buddy. Suppose 100 likes, Skid will be hosting the next live stream. you guys don't know about Skid Marks, bro. If you guys knew about Skid Marks, fucking hell. He's a legend, but he's a rant. He rants all the time. That's what I mean. Look, you have to understand that engagement farming is a thing in crypto, as bad as it is, and as manipulative it is a normal thing in crypto. People like to engagement farm because it gets them more followers, it gets them more views, and when everything goes to shits, you're gonna hear a lot of people scream recession. You're gonna hear a lot of people scream random fucking price action that just doesn't make sense. They don't have a reason. They just tell you that it's just gonna get worse and worse, so the price is gonna go down more and more. That's the reality, but they won't give you a specific good reason. Sensei, Nai, and Rio reacts the best. They do indeed. Those are quick movers, just because the market cap's low on both of them. They're the well-known coins. Those are the best for trades. For high caps, you already know Su and Ondo are the best. It was funny beefing up Jesus bad. A lot of people, look, there was people that came in here when alt was when it was down here, they started calling it a scam. And then when it went back up here to like 6 to 7 cents, it actually went to 7.2 on KuCoin. They just disappear. And since then, it's held up the best in the market, one of the best holding coins in the market the last month or two. And those guys disappear. The same thing with OTK. OTK took a massive dump, which is acceptable because it's a low cap and the market's shit. But when the market turns around, it tends to do very well. You know, and you see these little good price action surges, and those guys disappear. And then when it comes back down again, they appear. When it goes up, it's just a whole bunch of dunking on people for retarded reasons, for no reason at all. Fizz, good to see you, buddy. How you doing? I hope you had a good holiday, bro. Is it one time €5 bronze tier? Bro, the 1-to-1 tier is not fucking bronze, but that's only for a few people. The 1-to-1 tier is the gold one. It says it in the description. StayTech is not out yet, bro. Almost submitted my McDonald's application, my finger button. I think a majority have it. It's not too late to submit right now. We just don't know at the moment. However, Bitcoin is holding up fairly well. I'm pretty sure they look when Powell's speaking, you're going to see weird swings in the price action. He'll say one thing and then some guy will ask him a question. He'll answer in a positive way. It's just a whole bunch of nothing, pretty much, man. It's the worst time to trade when Powell's speaking. Feeling a lot better today, Buzz. Good to see Buzz, good to see you, my friend. How you doing? Go subscribe to Buzz's YouTube channel. He has a YouTube channel. He talks about altcoins plus others. Just subscribe to his YouTube channel. I need to get some guest stars. Would love to go over channels. Yeah, I mean, I would do that, but I don't know. It depends what channel it is. Like, you can only go to specific channels, because I can't go to some fucking Bitcoin maximalist channel and talk about altcoins, because they're going to look at me like a retard. The community is going to look at me like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? Altcoins are most altcoins have gone to shits. It doesn't make sense. You can only do it on channels that have or do the exact same thing as you do. That's how I look at it. I mean, if a channel looks at altcoins, you can go on those channels. But if someone like if I go to like Ben Cowan's channel or something, talk about fucking alt, he's gonna laugh at me. He's gonna be like, "What the fuck is he talking about?" And then he's gonna compare the sats to alt, and it's not gonna be looking good, because the alt chart does not look the best. Yeah, I haven't really done guests on the channel. You should stream Powell and all the macro stuff here on X Space. I could do that. I will probably start doing more lives on X, as in I'll go live on here and I'll also tune it up to X, because my X is fucking dead. People need to go. So you guys need to go follow my X. I've only got 722 followers. That's crazy. I got way more subscribers than that. That means you guys need to follow me on X. I'm actually quite active on there. No, I'm not that active, but I'm fairly active. But go follow me on Twitter. You guys need to follow me on Twitter. I need to start live streaming on here as well to get more followers, bro. How come Agent Forge AI Tech has the same logo? Do they? Oh, Agent Forge. What the fuck is that? Agent Forge. That sounds like a fucking meme coin, bro. I don't know what that is, bro. Maybe that guy's copied the logo. Zine collab. I'm thinking of converting AI Tech and Sniff to Sensei next dump. What do I see? What do I think? Yeah, you could. I mean, you could do that. I'll probably move. I would look. The thing is, I don't really want to sell my AI Tech. And the reason is because it's up 13% today. So it will have aggressive swings. But the reason I don't want to sell my AI Tech is because in my portfolio, everything I show to you guys over here, there's not a single DPM project apart from AI Tech. So, when deepin becomes a narrative, you're just going to be sidelined because you don't have anything in that narrative. So it will be a narrative because it moves with the AI coins. But because the last AI pump was only specifically AI agents, that's not going to be the case forever. But because it was only specifically AI agents, deepin didn't really do shit. So, I don't really want to get rid of my AI tech for that simple reason that it's the only deepin project I have in my portfolio. And they will be one of the best deepin projects because they're the only ones with the data center, which is supposedly going to be finished in May. So that's not too far away. But they have a GPU marketplace, AI agent marketplace. They have plenty of marketplaces, and they're burning and making money. So it's not. If you look at it from the product point of view, it's a good project. If you look at the price action point of view, it's a scam. That's how people think. So if you're looking at it from the price action point of view, I understand why you call it a scam. If you're looking at it from the product and the project itself, it's a good project that continuously develops. I don't really want to get you can get rid of yours, my friend. Snift is obviously a fucking low cap. And you guys gotta realize when I say something is degen and something is low cap, is high risk, people go on, because they get greedy and because this done so well in the short term and because it held so well when the market dumped initially. Obviously, nothing's bigger than the program. Everything comes down in the end eventually. But the thing is, when this starts pumping again, when liquidity comes back into the markets, a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I wish I didn't sell it. But the thing is, with these type of coins, you put money in there that you don't look at for like a year or 6 months when the market really starts pumping. Then you look at it. You don't put money you need into these low cap altcoins. I chuck a few grand into these because I don't care if he dies or survives. But if he survives and he does well, which I think this project will survive and do well, it will go. It could do 100x for me, a 200x for me. It's possible, but you can also die at the same time. Is possible as well. So you don't put more money than you can afford to lose in these low caps, DG and altcoins. And when I say that to people, because they get greedy, they put more than what they should in these coins because of greed. And then they realize that the reason why I say they degen and you should only hold small percentage of them, when the market gets bearish, they understand and they learn, just use this time to learn from these mistakes. I know plenty of people that held way too much money than they should have in Snift because it was holding really well over here. But the reality is, it's a low cap degen coin that will dump a lot harder than, it will dump like majority of coins. So you can't really expect this to hold up better than fucking Solana. Solana was down 25% the last 30 days. This is down 31%. So it's doing what the rest of the market is doing. So it's not like it's out of the ordinary dumping 99% when the rest of the market is going up. In reality, it's just doing what the market is doing. But like I said, with degen coins, please do not put more than you can afford to lose. I've made it very, very clear. I've said it a million times with Munity, with Chirply, with LogX, with this one, to only put whatever you can afford to lose, 1% or less. And when I say that, someone goes put some 5 and 10% and they start panicking when it goes down. 5 and 10% is too much for your portfolio to put into a $4 million coin. That's too risky. If you can afford to take that risk, it's fine, but you have to be able to stomach the drawdowns. If you can't, then that's on you as an investor. At the end of the day, you are in charge of your own money. I can give you my advice. If you don't listen to my advice, then that's on you. But like I said, with AI tech, I'm not going to sell. Snift, I'll hold, and they are still developing. I mean, if you don't feel confident on the project, just go on the Twitter and see what they're doing. If you don't like the developments and you don't like what they're doing, then you can sell it. But these guys are still developing. I don't know why it's not loading. They're updating the platform. They're going to do more AMAs. They're going to events. They're updating the fucking whatever this shit is. LLM integration, AI agents with data, whatever, all this bullshit. They're forming new partnerships. They are doing, what a project does when they develop. So, the fund here, whatever, is a degen coin at the end of the day. Good to see you, Shadow. I mean, look, my coins have held up fairly well, apart from a few. But it's all about when you buy the coins. So you look at specific coins, most people FOMO'd up too high and they got raped. When I got into them, my portfolio is still in profits, apart from it, with the exception of a few coins, obviously. There's a few coins I am down on, but that's part of the game. People with immunities DJ must not allocate more than 1%. They didn't listen, and now they're crying, complaining, they're all good. To be fair, I'm still, immunity is still doing well. To be honest, it's it will pump. It's still developing. They are doing what they need to do. Gaming is just dead, so you can't really expect immunity to do anything more than any other gaming coin has. Yeah, he speaks quite often. He's the market is stabilized now, anyways, at 82K. Yo, that's funny, bro. Yeah, you fucking wrecked him. Another one. It's just held up okay, but I don't know, man. I'm not a fan of Tectum anymore, bro. It's not a fan of it. It's up 11% today. It's not doing too bad. It's $8 million a market cap. What the fuck? I didn't even know it was that low. Yeah, I'm not really a fan. I think the team needs to step up. I feel like they need to start doing something. I mean, the soft nodes were a good idea at one point, but you can't just go off you can't go off the whole thing just based on soft nodes. They are expanding to RWA. That's one good side. But apart from that, they're not doing anything crazy, bro. So I don't really recommend anyone buying this shit anymore. If you hold it, just hold it. Everything pumps when the market gets bullish. You are gonna at least get your money back, or if not, some profits. But if you want to buy this shit as a project that's really doing crazy stuff, it's not one of those anymore, bro. The concept is bullish, but the team is so retarded that it just makes the project shit. Bro, the Hello Lab shit did terrible, bro. So that's not really a compliment. Amazing how market wrecked Trump's latest announcement. Yeah, I mean, React is always about the tariffs. It's very obvious because even when we got that fake rumor that the 90-day pause was coming, guess what? The market reacted aggressively once again, and then it turned out to be fake. The market dumped instantly. Today, it happened to be true. So you are going to get sharp reactions because the whole market, it's not going down because of fucking recessionary risk, whatever. It's only going down specifically because of tariffs. And the tariffs being paused, the market can now have some relief rally. Pay the X mark check. Yeah, I need to start paying for that shit. He doesn't do. What does he do though? Does he do anything? Say no more, bro. I'll hit you up after this, bro. Check out Lit Labs best gaming token. I actually traded Lit Labs. Lit Labs was I made the Lit Lab calls over here, and then it done a 30x, so it done very well. It was gonna do well anyways, before Alexa fucking came about. But this project done a 30x from here, and I was buying over here, all over here. I did a very nice pump, made some good money on it, took some good profits on it, left a sizable moon bag, and then it started dying. And then sometime over here, I think Archie did a sell alert on Lit Labs, which is a good time. I got handed to him. It was a good sell alert because the market just went to shits after. Well, this went to shits. I caught the dip over here. It was like a 2x pump. It came down to like 1.5 or some shit, and it rallied to like 0.3 something. I don't know why this is always not accurate, but he pumped it. It gave a quickest 2x. It was like the quickest 2x you could get in like a day. One day, everyone FOMO'd back in. I sold all of it, a majority of it. Then left the little moon bag because the gaming was just dying, and I did not see the point of holding this shit any longer. So I sold quite a lot. Still left the moon bag, and my moon bag now is worth pennies. But that's what moon bags are supposed to be for. When you leave a moon bag, you can either die and be worth pennies, or you can go on to do some more rally. But this one just died. Look at the volume is 23. I think this is completely rugged. They moved over to Alexa. So yeah, this is a fucking dog shit coin. Yeah, I would do that as well. Yeah, I mean, when the rumors come out that AI tech is going to be listed on Binance, that is when you sell before the listing. Once the listing actually happens, unless the market is in a very bullish state. That, once the listing actually happens, it's just going to dump. So you normally sell on the news of the listing rather than the actual listing, because when the actual listing happens, it will just dump. So you gotta keep that in mind, bro. What's your biggest holding on your list? OTK, but OTK is a small percentage of my portfolio, bro. Gaming itself is a very small percentage of my portfolio. My biggest holding is Bitcoin. Bitcoin and Ethereum is my biggest holding. I would say my third biggest holding is probably Injective. Probably Injective, yeah. Well, it was Injective. I don't know what my Injective bag's worth now. Then I'll probably say Alt is third or fourth, or fifth. I got some other big bags like Ondo. The rest of them are just like smaller caps. There's a few moon bags in there. I got some Audi moon bag. I've got a few other moon bags because I got some decent Naka in there as well, but that's a moon bag as well. But I am going to be adding to some Naka because they are a good project that's continuously developing. I have some decent AI tech. I mean, yeah, I have some. Well, I have some decent AGI. I have more AGI than I have AI tech. But my biggest holding, OTK, is one of the smallest holdings, bro. It's like a fucking degen gaming coin, bro. I've never been bullish on gaming since it's been dead for so long. It doesn't make sense to keep adding to OTK. OTK is one of my smallest holdings, G. Have you moved into base from BNB? I don't think Binance is listing AI tech. No, that's not the case. That's not the case. They can move to any chain they want. It doesn't make a difference. Their mainnet is on BNB. You can always move to side chains, but the main contract, the most liquidity, is on BNB. And the fact that they get listed and mentioned in every single Binance chain, daily, whatever, and they go onto these AMAs with Binance chain, shows how close they are to Binance themselves. No project is going to move to base. Them expanding to base, it doesn't make no difference. It just brings more volume to the project. Doesn't mean that, you could say the same thing you could say that for virtuals, because yes, virtual was on base, but they moved to Solana. And I don't blame them because they were one of the biggest coins at that time, but they couldn't get a listing on Coinbase. So for them to move made sense. And the same thing with AGI. AGI is no longer close to Binance anymore, even though they're always recommended to be listed, but they're not close to them anymore. And the reason is because this had everything going for it for a listing, but they just wouldn't list them for some reason. They had the volume. At this point over here, this stage in the market, this had almost 100 million volume, daily volume. It still has 11 million volume. The volume is, is very, very good, but Binance just wouldn't list them for some reason. And that's because Binance are scammy. So they will list stuff where the volume is, and the volume is in meme coins at the moment, or was. So they will only go into list meme coins, even though they talk all that shit. They say, builders build and all this bullshit the fucking Chinky Con CZ says all the time. And then 2 weeks later, he will list some fucking banana meme coin or some dog meme coin. And it just makes him look like a retard, because what you're doing is you're telling people to build, but you're not showing support to the builders. A listing for these projects is very good because they can make money off the back of the listing and continue to develop. The projects that don't make money with their products, the ones that do, they don't really care. They make money regardless. But some of these projects do rely on listings, pumps in the token for them to make some money to continue developing. So when he says stuff like that, it's retarded. Alt staking period will end within a few weeks. Seeing the market, I think that I will restake again because I have the feeling the coming weeks will trade. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad move, but I would not ever stake the whole bag, just because you just don't know what's going to happen. If you stake your whole bag and when it's time to take some profits, when you can't take profits, so I would only stake 50%. If you had to hold long term, I wouldn't even care. But at least if you can sell your 50%, you're not losing money, are you? So that way it makes sense. But don't stake your whole bag, my friend. It's never smart to do that. Because, for example, staking, yes, you can make some money, but it also has risks. If something to happen, like fucking all gets bridged, or the chain you're staking on gets bridged, your money will get lost. So staking the whole thing is never smart, Sammy. Do be very careful, my friend. The only thing I would ditch is tech. That's it. Because I'm not seeing enough development from tech. I'm seeing developments from all my other projects. Yes, price action wise, I would probably get rid of the whole market if you only look at price action, right? But price action is not the end be all to end all when the liquidity is not here. Liquidity comes, that's a different story. But the only token I'm not seeing enough development from is Tectum. Yes, they're getting partnerships here and there, but they just keep posting the same retarded shit. Why soft node is so good? Like, who gives a shit, bro? We've known about soft nodes for the past 3 years now. Go do something new. It's the only coin I would get rid of, and I won't get rid of it now. It's kind of pointless. I'm down on my investment. When I make some money on it, I will get rid of it quite early. I don't give a shit if it does a 50x from here. I don't give a fuck. I'm just not supporting a sleeper team, bro. Honestly, chucking 500 DG bag and just let it ride, no stress. Exactly. Chuck in 200, 300, 500, a grand, whatever you can afford to lose, whatever is not much money for you, where it's even worth having a look at all the time. If you're looking at your fucking sniff bag all the time, it means it's too much money for you. You need to start cutting some of that out. If you're looking at your immunity bag every other day, that means it's too much money for you. You put something that you don't even give a shit about, chuck in some wallet somewhere, come back when the market's bullish, come back when that narrative is hot, and it might just do 100x for you. That's how I always told people to do it. And they get too greedy because you get glimpses of these coins doing really well, and that greed takes over. Human greed will always be here. A lot of people say now today, oh, as soon as I break even, I'm going to sell. The reality is they won't. The greed will take over again. When even if they break even, even if they make a 5x after break even, they just won't sell just because of the human greed. So I'm hearing so many people say today, oh, as soon as I break even, I'm gonna sell. I'm just gonna get the fuck out. When the time comes, you're not going to do that. It's bullshit. You're just lying to yourself now. So it's the same thing with these DJing coins. Like I said, if you're looking at your DJing coins every couple of days, you have too much money in there. Take some off, because you shouldn't be looking at them at all. They shouldn't even affect your portfolio in reality. That's how you treat them. Because yes, the DGM backs can go down 80%, but they can look at Matic was a DGM coin. It went down 99% before it pulled a 200x. That's what these DGM coins do. And Matic was very DGM at that point. I'm not saying Munity is going to do the same numbers as Matic's, but you will still do a 50x, a 60x, a 30x. So you will make money from it at some point. But if you're stressing about it, looking at it now when the market's down, it means you have too much money in there. Gaming has been dead for so long, but Naka, OTK, Munity are a good choice. I agree with you. Those are my favorite three. What's up with Right? You still hold? Right. I don't even know where my right bag is anymore. I held Right before he done the 30x. I was actually one of the first people to call Right ever. Right at the bottom, because the entertainment narrative was hot. And this was one that I seen that had good backers. I was getting Right somewhere just before the pump over here somewhere. This was when the entertainment narrative was kind of hot. And then he did a 10x, got rug pulled or some shit, and then rallied again. And I just moonbagged the shit out of this. I don't even know what it's worth now. But it was a trade for me more. I don't really hold this shit. It was a trade bag. I traded the shit out of this. But it's just that narrative is just dead. It's like the BRC20 narrative. What's the point of holding anything in there? How are Dynex and Octa doing? Dynex, last time I checked, was like a few $1 million in market cap. Today is up 3%. It's $3 million in market cap. Fucking hell. $3 million in market cap. I told people for months and months and months since 2023 that this project is dog shit. Please get rid of it. It's not going anywhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. This looks like the Casper chart. One pump, 2 pump, 3 pump, 4 pump, but you couldn't take out the all-time high. It took out the first time. The second time, it couldn't do it. Dumped, had another good rally, and then it just continued to go lower to the point where it's $3 million in market cap and it's dog shit. Useless project. Octa, same thing. Never been a fan of Octa. I would say Octa has held up a lot better than the majority of coins. So I gotta hand it on Octa. They have a solid community, but it's a slow mover. It's a very slow mover. I mean, just look at the chart the last month. It's more like a stable coin. You can hold this as a stable coin, but don't hold it as a project that's going to do well. Just because they just don't have, the Deepen's dead at the moment. This will do well when Deepen wakes up, but it's always been a slow mover just because of the lack of funding behind the project. They've been on the same exchanges for over 4 years now, so, and I don't really think they're making any money from the project with the products. Not a good sign. If Bitcoin can hold above 88K, then I would say we will most likely visit the 90 to 100K region. We are still a little bit far off. We're still in this downtrend at the moment. But this rally, if we can hold this rally tomorrow, when inflation numbers go back down, we will most likely see another green candle. And then, it will most likely go a lot higher. So I'm bullish right now. I'm very bullish. Plume Network, are you up for this? Yeah, Plume Network's very solid, bro. I do like Plume. Illuvium Gala, how many X's I give for? I actually like G Swift. I think G Swift will do very well, my friend. I think I am actually bullish on G Swift. I actually traded this a few weeks ago when you done like a 2x. But G Swift, and I do think AI gaming narrative will heat up at some point. I think when GTA, which is supposedly going to come out sometime in August, but that will shift every couple of months just because of how unreliable Rockstar is. If that does come out, and I do think AI will take off at the same time, when gaming takes off, you're going to have subsections in that narrative. And I do think AI gaming will be like that. When Jewel was that narrative, when AI was hot and gaming become hot, and gaming was hot first, and then AI became hot, people started buying AI gaming, which was at that point Jewel, and Jewel done really well in that short period of time. The same thing will happen again with G Swift, and I think G Swift is overall a good project. So if it comes down to a decent level, it's worth a bag just because there's a lack of dilution, volume 10%, which is pretty good. They got some decent exchanges as well. It's not a bad project overall. It's not a bad project overall in the gaming narrative. So I actually got G Swift ages ago, but I managed to sell this quite, somewhere. I actually gave an alert on this ages ago, but he did a very good pump, and then just fucking died. But I am bullish on this year. Very bullish on G Swift. Just wait for it to be a decent level. I've been trading this here and there for like fuck all. It's not even worth trading just because the volume's so low. Picked up a bigger bag of Sensei before this mini pump. Going to hold off for now. Buy 1 to 2 entry on GG. Chain GPT is also a good project. Opinion on tech term, just hold. Don't sell when you get either break even or slightly bullish or slightly in profits. And I'm not bullish on it, bro. I'm not bullish on tech term at all. I still think it will pump. You have to look at the last 4 years. In the last 4 years, which narratives have done well? I've not seen any low cap RWA. I mean, any low cap, layer ones do well. They had a good pump sometime in 2023. However, since then, the only layer ones that has been doing well is just high cap layer ones. The lower cap layer ones been struggling. So, it hasn't been a narrative so far. I don't really think it will be a narrative in the future. I'd rather just be safe and stick to the RWAs and the AIs and the game fires because those are the ones that's likely to pump. You don't want to be putting too much money. I've had Tectum for a while, but I sold a bunch of Tectum as well, and I also bought some back. So overall, I am down on Tectum, not down enough where it's like worth selling. I'm not going to sell because I'm down a decent amount. However, I do think Tectum will at some point have enough rally for all of us to get out in some profits. So I don't really think it's worth selling. They are tapping into RWA, and that's the only thing I like about it so far. The Dynex CEO was here. You called him a pedo. Yeah, that was a funny time. That was a funny time. That was actually a good time. G Swift is good too, but down 99 means you're not married to it. Can't escape it, bro. Yeah, you're not married to it, bro. You're fucking locked in with it. Yeah, it's at great discounts, but doesn't mean it's worth the buy, bro. Everything's in great discounts. I'd rather put my money elsewhere. I'm not gonna DCA into that shit anymore. Found your base play, my G. No, but I have found some decent AI base plays that I would trade. I'm not gonna worth buy. None of them are worth a buy alert, but I do have some good AI agent coins or AI coins and RWA coins that I will trade when the base network gets a bit hot. Alchemist has a channel now. Have him to be your guest. No, he's never gonna be my guest, bro. IBM, we don't need another rectum man, but feel free to ask about what's MinLayer's price. I used to rant about MinLayer all the time. I used to force people to sell this shit. There's so many coins I forced people to sell, and this was one of them. And I hope it saved people a lot of money. It has been doing okay the last month since the 3 cents, but it's only up 1 cent. But I hope I saved a lot of people on this shit coin just because of how terrible it was. I hope a lot of people listened. A lot of my list down here, apart from XRP, was done well, Cardano done well, but a lot of these coins did get fucking raped, if not completely, annihilated. For example, ND, dog shit, Orange, fucking probably dead, Dynex dead now, DCI, Rockpool, Octaspace, Jewel. I don't even know what Jewel's doing, but I can imagine that was a scam. So that is probably fucking dead as well. But there's a lot of coins that people were bullish on at one point because it pumped. That I've probably, actually Jewel's doing okay. It's not doing too bad. But there was a lot of coins I hope I saved people because a lot of people were shitting MinLayer. And I don't know why they were shitting it. It was just one of, all that stuff that came out about that project was true, regarding the scammy side from the CEO. And I just haven't done anything ever since then. Everyone was very bullish on this coin MintLayer. Everyone was bullish. Even I was bullish on it at one point. The reason I was bullish on it, I got in very early and the narrative was hot. So at that point, it makes sense to be bullish. But as you see the narrative fade, as you start reading articles that all the Bitcoin maxis don't want people to build on Bitcoin, and then you look at Bitcoin as one of the slowest piece of shits out there, it's just what's the point of building on it? The only thing is good for is security. If you want security, you can just go on Ethereum. It also has very good security. So it does not make sense when the fees are high to build on MintLayer. So yeah, this was a project. The narrative was just dead. I didn't like the narrative. The project itself could be the best of the narrative, but if the narrative is dead, it will die with it. For example, I got into Audio a few dollars, $2 it was, $3. It went all the way up to fucking hold on, $60, $70, and then the narrative died. So you have to get rid of this shit because the narrative is dead. If the narrative is still hot, then it's okay to make sense. You made the mistake. But if you made the mistake of buying a coin and holding it, you bought it here, you didn't take profits over here, and you just held it, you can only accept that mistake if the narrative is good and it can continue to do well, because you can't predict the market 5-6 months down the line. AI, if this was an AI coin, I would say fair enough. And I would still call you a retard for not taking a profit after a 30, 20, 30x. But I would be like, fair enough. The narrative is hot. You got greedy, which is a normal human thing, of emotion. But if you're looking at a narrative that's completely dead, no one's talking about it, and you're just holding it, then you're just a retard. That's how I look at it. And this was a narrative that's just completely dead. It might come back, but I just don't see it. I don't really see the incentive of building on Bitcoin. It doesn't make sense. If anyone, if this narrative was going to be hot, it would have been hot when Bitcoin was at 100K. It would have been hot now when Bitcoin's the best holding asset in the crypto space. So it's just no one cares and gives a shit about BRC20 anymore. Unfortunately. Yeah. I found the other two that was part of the min layer team. They had a lot of commotion in the team, and they showed me all the papers and stuff just to verify, and I managed to get it. An ass tier would have been very good, yes. But if I did an ass tier and I put XRP and Cardano in there, people would have been haunting me since this day. When I made my high cap video, people that held XRP and it pumped, sometimes they still comment to this day saying you were wrong about XRP, you were wrong about Cardano. So yeah, I was, but who gives a shit? It was a bullish concept because the narrative was hot. You know, just like DCI was a bullish coin when Deepin was hot. So it all depends on the narrative. The narrative, just like all these AI agents were bullish 3 months ago. Look at them now. Majority of them are dead, just not developing, just completely dead. There's some development still working, but this is what happens, and people oftentimes get blindsided by the narrative being hot once, and they get blindsided thinking it's going to be hot again in the future, which most of the time it's not. Slightly up on Ondo is a good hold long term, or should I move into another coin? I would hold Ondo. I got into Ondo at 20 cents. I took some profits off the table because it done very well. It's a high cap. If you get a 10x on your high cap, it's kind of retarded, or between 5 to 10x. It doesn't. You have to take profits as a high cap. Don't expect a high cap to do a 50x, but it doesn't make sense. The best thing to do is, if you want to get a high cap that's very discounted, put some leverage on it. Put 2 to 3x leverage on it. So if you get Ondo, for example, Bitcoin, it's not going to go below 70K. If it does, it might be a wick. So if you get Ondo, at like 60 cents or 66 cents, 65 cents, and you leverage, your liquidation is at 40 cents. 40 cents is very unlikely for Ondo, so you can take that risk, right? So it might go to 50 cents. This is where a lot of the support is. It might go down as low as 46 cents or 50 cents or whatever. It's very unlikely. It's at 87 now, but you can do it. But if you put some leverage on there and it does a 10x, you'll get a 30x, you get a 20x. So 2x, 3x leverage is fine. Low risk, but you make more money. Playing leverages on high caps is probably the smartest thing you can do because they hold up okay. Ondo has held up significantly, one of the best in I would say, 14% up on the year. But the downside risk is minimal, but the upside risk is pretty good as well if you add some leverage to it. And we're going to wrap up this live stream very soon, guys. Just for some upcoming events, keep your eyes open for tomorrow. Tomorrow we have the CPI inflation numbers coming in, which is at 1:30 UK time. Inflation numbers, you got core inflation as well. You got initial claims coming in, and then on Friday we have some more news coming out as well. Friday we have PPI, which is is going to be a good indicator for the Fed. So we do have some good data tomorrow. If the data is shit, expect volatility over the weekend because these guys are going to start manipulating a little bit. It won't be anything crazy, but they will start manipulating. But this is what we look for now. It seems that the market is okay on what Powell has said. This is why the market is slowly climbing back up, which is very bullish. S&P is up 9%, which is huge amount. That's a massive amount. This could have been the bottom for the S&P. It all depends on fucking tariffs. If Trump says tomorrow, I'm canceling those tariffs, everything's just going to go back down to where we were before. So, remember, we are entering, if this is the final pump, you have to start taking profits now. Don't get too greedy at this point. The bond market is being a bit retarded right now. But yeah. Min layer AWT, too many wrecked schemes, and we survived that time too. Yeah, I actually traded AWT. It was a good little trade. ICNX was always dog shit because I never liked it. Just looked dead. My views on Leox. I think Leox is a decent DJ and RWA coin. They've cut the supply by like 50%, and they're starting to do buyback. So for the low cap RWA, it's not too bad. I would say it's pretty decent. It's pretty good. I would say. So it's pretty good. They're gonna start some buyback program, bullish. They've cut the supply, from 150 to 80 million. it's pretty much fully diluted now. So, and they are going to start doing buybacks for the token. So, it's a pretty good token, I would say, overall. Undo you can hold in two parts, one for short term and one. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true. You can hold trade Undo on a regular. You can put a leverage on another one for like a 2 to 3x, and you might get a 10 to 20x, or you might get 20 to 30x if it does a 10x. So, playing the small leverage game is pretty smart sometimes. But anyways, guys, I appreciate every single one of you for coming down today. It's been a good short live stream. Hope you guys enjoying the pump today. Just be vigilant for tomorrow. We do have some, data points coming out, which will affect or swing the markets, in the short term. But my consensus is we are bullish from this point on. We could have already seen the bottom. Any little movement now, it's not a bad time to DCA. It all depends on Trump. So don't take my word for it. If Trump tomorrow comes out and fucking says all those tariffs are going back on, no one can predict that shit. The charts won't predict it. Nothing will predict it. So it all depends on what Trump is. A Trump market at the moment. You can fucking fart tomorrow and the market would pump 50%, or you could vomit and the market will pump 100% because they probably want him to fucking die at this point. But people in the markets want Trump gone. So if he fucking has vomits tomorrow and he starts getting ill, the market will probably rally on the back of that because then the tariffs will go. That's how stupid the market is at the moment. But anyways, have a good day, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day or your afternoon or whatever you're from. I will be live in a few days. I'll probably make a video tomorrow regarding the market update based on the inflation numbers. So keep your eyes on for that. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.